everybody able to see my screen here as it popped up for you
I
guys?
see it.
All right. So for today's call, it's really kind of building on the topic of planning that we started last week with going over the end of year planning with Bryce. And so the topic that we're covering today is going to be what we call power planning. And really, what that is just starting your day with an hour of power. And so this hour of power really is just designed for you to take control of your day so that you're, uh, consistently taking those actions each day that move you and your business towards reaching the goals that you've, identified and set for yourself for 2024. And really, when you reverse engineer it a little bit, the first step towards having a great year it's got to start with having a great day, right? And so, with this, you're really taking back control of your day a little bit. You're going into the day just knowing what actions have to be taken and carving out that time to do so instead of hitting that, you know, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, whatever time you turn it in for the day, and just looking back and saying, "Oh man, where'd my day go?" Right? I got nothing done. Is that maybe a familiar feeling for anybody in here? Maybe raise your hand. I know that's something that I've felt before. Get to the end of the day, it's like, man, I feel like I've been going and running all day, and what have I really accomplished? Right? And so, um, for starters, I want to piggyback on the words of a much smarter and wiser man than I am. Uh, that man being Winston Churchill. Uh, and now I say that he's much smarter and wiser than I am because for those of you guys who don't know who he was a British soldier during World War One and the Prime Minister twice of Britain, once during the Second World War, and he's honestly just widely respected as one of the greatest leaders in world history, and just somebody I've always been fascinated with. And he says, "He who fails to plan is planning to fail." And there's many different wives of famous people that have different variations of this quote. I know Benjamin Franklin's one of them. I partially chose Churchill because of his kind of idol status in my mind, uh, but also because I love this photo of him. Most of the photos I've ever seen of him, at least that come to mind, are of a grumpy-looking old man. And for the sake of Christmas cheer, I decided to go ahead and dress him up a little bit as well, since he just looks so gosh darn happy here.
Hey,
But now back
I
to
was
the,
gonna.
the
Sorry,
quote.
there was no way
Oh,
to smoothly interrupt. I just had to commit. Now that was too late. I was gonna say, cool fact. Did you know that Churchill had, I think, like, was it 5 to 7 cigars a day?
I already told you he's my idol, Rudy. That was
And
the
so,
primary reason.
and so, I'm sure he planned on it. Let's just say that. I mean, those things don't wrap up here in 10 minutes. That's pretty impressive. No,
Rudy,
I absolutely love that quote.
do you know that just is that something you've used to convince your wife that it's okay that you smoke cigars every once in a while? Is that how you know
No,
that fact?
no, that's I don't know how I know that fact, but I definitely I've but it's one of those facts you don't forget. It's pretty
Yeah.
crazy. I don't recommend that, and I've never done that. So,
Well, I think
but yeah,
he,
great
I think he
quote. I was
must
actually
be.
thinking about that quote.
I think he must be holding his fingers. I thought that was a peace sign, but he might have just been holding the cigar. So. Uh, but anyways, just back to the quote. He who fails to plan is planning to fail. Pretty straightforward. Don't need to break it down a lot. But when you just think about how your day typically goes in the business, some of the chaos that goes into it, and some, not all of it, but some of that chaos oftentimes can really be taken care of with proper planning and just proper preparation, right? And if you're somebody that's consistently saying to themselves at the end of the day, having those moments where you're going, man, how did I end up here? Was that really how my day went? I got nothing done despite being busy all day. Um, Odds are you could really benefit from just strategically planning your day each day before the chaos starts. And so that's where this hour of power really comes in. Now, that being said, I highly doubt that anybody in this room is, intentionally isn't planning their day. That's not what I'm trying to say. Um, and some of you have maybe even had the thought, man, I should sit down and plan my day out ahead of time. Travis, you're not telling me anything new here, right? Nothing I don't already know. But yeah, if we're being completely honest, how many of us are actually consistently setting aside the time daily to be intentional about planning? You know, even those of us that plan on planning our day, plan on planning our day, uh, often fail to do so because of just stuff, right? You know, um, uh, but what are some of the reasons why that continues to happen? Well, I know, some of the most common ones that we coaches hear a lot are, just that we lose track of time. Hey, I was gonna plan my day, but I got caught up on a job site, um, and just lost track of what time it was. Uh, hey, we experience a lot of chaos, like kind of said. Travis, I was gonna plan my day, but my phone just starts ringing and it just doesn't stop, start to finish the whole day. You know, And I think this one's, if we're being honest, it can be the issue sometimes as well. Sometimes we're so used to operating in the chaos, we don't know what to do with calm and silence. It's like without that chaos and stimulation of a million problems being thrown at us, our minds just kind of go blank. You know, and so these are some of the most common ones that we run into. But what are some of the reasons that you guys have found really stop you from, setting aside time to plan out your day? Do you have any takers here? Any that I don't have mentioned?
Yeah, for me, and this is like as soon as this week, really, when I don't set myself up for the success the previous night. If I'm not getting much sleep, I'm gonna want to get every minute I can, and I'm not gonna start to plan my day before it starts. That's for sure. So you've got to set yourself up for success here. The night before, the day before.
Rudy, is that why you were responding to my emails at like 10 o'clock last night?
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that.
Yeah. But anyways, and that's a good point that I'll get to in a little bit because Rudy and I have that in common. We have kids, and so sometimes our planning has to be done at a different point. But the key point there is you're doing it before the chaos starts and ahead of that next day. Um, Anybody else got some of the reasons why some of that stuff pops up? Okay, going once, going twice. All right, we're gonna go ahead and move on. These are just some of the reasons why we fail to plan. But I've got another, beautiful quote here by Michael Hyatt that just, reminding us that what gets scheduled gets done. Uh, Now, this is a concept that was introduced to me years ago, but I think I find it to be more true really with each passing day. And even though it's a principle I very much agree with, one that I try and live by, I just continuously am reminded how true it really is. It really just sinks in more and more. But the concept of finding time is a complete fallacy. You know, it's a unicorn concept. It's just never going to happen. It's not real. That's not when you own your own business, much less if you're one of those people that you're in the position that I know a lot of you guys are, where maybe you have a business and you're raising a family, or maybe you have friends, or hobbies, or really anything else at all in your life outside of your business. You're not going to find time. You simply just have to make time for the most important things in your business, in your life, because things just aren't going to happen by accident. We have to really be intentional in what gets scheduled gets done. So now, now that we've established and we know that okay, we have to make time for planning because we know what gets scheduled gets done, and we know that we have to do that, and we know that Winston Churchill told us that failing to plan is planning to fail, and you know none of us here on this call are planning to fail. We're trying to do the opposite. We're wanting to grow. Uh, but the best way we found to do that is creating what we call an hour of power. And what that is simply saying is that I'm dedicating an hour before my phone starts ringing, before problems on the job site can exist, before people start calling in sick, uh, before all of that. You know, I'm going to take this time to make sure that I have a solid game plan going into the day of the most important things that I have to get done and get to get towards my goals, and then make time to do those. Right, I'm intentionally doing that, while also acknowledging that I'm a business owner. You know, and as a business owner who's growing the business, urgent items and burning fires are just going to be, um, you know, part of life. And so, guess what? I have to plan time for those, right? We can't just fill our day start to finish like, these things don't exist and they don't happen. And even ahead of that, the reason that it's important to have the hour of power set aside before your day starts is that you're just creating a routine and habits for success. You're creating a predictable system to plan for yourself, and planning out your day before it starts. You're identifying some of the things that come in like wrecking balls during your day and being proactive about tackling them. Um, you know, um, you're also going to be setting um, the tone in your business, and setting the tone for the day. And you're telling your day that you're in control. And I don't really want to just skip past this with either. You're literally using this time to tell your business, hey, I'm in control here. This is what we've got to get done. This is mission critical to move the business forward, not just going through work. And I think sometimes, at least for me, I've found it to be true. You get to the end of the day and didn't get done what you wanted to get done. And naturally, just as human beings, uh, we oftentimes start blaming everything else and everyone else, right? But I have to remind myself that no, I am in control, and really reset myself ahead of the next day to take that control back. And that's one of those things that the power planning provides to us. So uh, now, before getting into some of the like the nitty gritty, step by step of how to make your hour of power as efficient as possible, I want to stop and ask you this question, guys. You know, um, almost all of you started this business in the beginning to achieve a future for time freedom, right? Maybe raise your hand if you agree with that statement. That's one of the primary things we're trying to achieve there. You know, and so with that being the case, why are we letting other people take this away from us, right? Why do we let clients call us in the middle of the day and let their dysfunctions or misconceptions completely derail our day? You know, why do we let subs, dictate if a job's running on schedule or not? Most of the world operates in chaos, and that's just a concept we have to understand. And if we aren't careful and if we don't guard that, then we let their dysfunction become our own, right? And so ultimately, that's going to lead us to lose one of the main things that we set out to gain when we started our business. And again, you started your business for yes, financial freedom, but also that time freedom. And I'm a big believer that it's possible to have both. But we have to take a little bit of ownership over this, right? Um, Robert Redmond, his group called just 2 weeks ago was about making it count. And he talked about some of the things that keep us stuck in that problem pattern. And some of those things that he mentioned were things like, telling ourselves victim stories and blaming others for problems, which again, as humans, all of us are guilty of at some point. There's nobody that, hasn't experienced that. But at a certain point, we have to stop letting ourselves, have these outside forces take that time freedom. It's ours, and that's what we saw. And we're letting them take that away from us. And so the reason I mention this is because at the end of the day, power planning, your hour of power, it's one of the tools that we have to combat that, right? It's just one of the tools that we have to combat it. But like with any tool, if you choose not to use it, or if you don't use it properly or consistently, it's not going to be very effective. So now, let's get into some of the details here, the nitty gritty. Okay, we've talked about power planning, but what is it? What do I do? How do I do it? Right. So to get started, there's two important questions that we need to ask ourselves and answer to get started with it. So the key to power planning is really creating a habit or a ritual, creating a routine out of your daily planning. So first question that we need to ask ourselves and answer is determine where you will do it, right? And when you're talking about uh, when you will do it, what's going to set you up for success? It's kind of what me and Rudy were talking about a minute ago. Is the answer to that getting up an hour earlier? At points in my life, that's been the answer. But asking yourself, if that's the answer, hey, will I actually do that? Am I actually going to be up an hour earlier, or at least enough time to allow for my power planning before the day starts? You know, Again, maybe it's better for you to schedule your planning time the day before in the evening. I know for me, I've got two kids. I got a 6-year old and 11-year old, and stay pretty busy with sports and everything else. And so for me, I kind of have a nightly routine where after I get them in bed, I sit down and I spend kind of an hour of just doing my power planning. You know, but I'm doing that ahead of the next day whenever phone calls and text messages and emails start bombarding me, right? And so really the right answer is going to be different for different people. But the biggest thing is it needs to be either at the start or the end of the day for it to really be both effective and in order to protect that time to make sure that other things aren't getting in the way of it. And so again, it works best to start your or end your day with the power planning, either making your plan for the day first thing to create the following days the game plan, or the night before to create the following day's game plan. Now, number two that we need to answer and ask ourselves is, and really just beforehand mentally prepare, where am I going to be doing this daily planning? Create an environment that is going to allow you to focus consistently, where you can minimize distractions. Okay. Maybe that means leaving your phone in a different room so that calls and text messages, or uh, the draw to some doom scrolling Facebook doesn't really kick in. You know, and if you're doing it in the morning, like I was saying, and again, if you're big, you've got uh, kids that are running around like crazy in the mornings. You got to find a time or a place that your kids aren't going to be distracting and interrupting you. And I know that's easier said than done, but and if you're going to do it, maybe in a coffee shop down the street on the way to the job site, you need to bring, do I need to bring headphones so that I can block out the noise? You got to be intentional about where you're doing and creating the environment that allows you to focus and not get so easily distracted. And so, and so just at the end of the day, we just want to find that place where we can create that environment. So those are two questions you got to ask yourself before doing the power planning. Now, step one, now that we have those two questions now out of the way, um, uh, we're we're uh, how do I power plan, right? Um, I've got the space. Nobody's bothering me. I'm not distracted. I'm doing it at the same time every day. But what am I actually doing? I've got all the ingredients here, and I'm just sitting by myself, and I'm planning. What is that? Well, step one, we want to create just a pattern of asking ourselves the same questions every time you plan. You're, create a plan for your planning, I guess. Um, Now, I'm going to give you a good starting point, and maybe you add some things. Maybe some of these things aren't applicable to you, but most of the people that we work with here, these things will hold pretty true. But you just want to review, okay, what appointments do I have today? Right? Are those appointments on my calendar? What do I need to do to make sure that I'm prepared for that appointment? If you need to block out some time to prepare for it, go ahead and do it. If you're meeting somebody for a kitchen remodel or a hot water heater install or a repipe, right? How much money could be lost if you show up unprepared? Isn't that worth setting aside a little bit of time to just prepare for it? It could be thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, just for a little bit of extra preparation. And I just kind of coming to mind here. Uh, I don't think he created it, but I remember my football idol growing up, Ray Lewis. I thought I was going to be, in the NFL one day as a kid. But he always had a saying that he would use of the 5 P's. Proper preparation prevents poor performances. And I think that holds true in all aspects of life. If you can prepare properly, it's just going to prevent you falling on your face a little bit. And so, reviewing just what appointments do I have? What do I need to be successful in those? Reviewing active jobs. Hey, are we on track? Are we ahead of schedule with these? Are we running behind? We're running behind. Why? What's going on? What can I do to get this back on track? Okay. Or is there anything that I can delegate to another team member? Am I the one that needs to be handling this? Is this my highest and best use, or do I have a member on the team that's equipped to do this? You know, and then time block the task if it's something you need to do, and if it's something you need to delegate, put it on your to-do list to call and or text the person so that they know that it's now on their to-do list. That's the great thing to be a business owner. You can put things on other people's to-do list. Um, and so once you have your active jobs reviewed, let's go into we got to get more work coming in the business, right? Quotes, quote requests, quotes that you need to prepare. You know, who are they? What is the quote for, and when is it due? Do I have a quote that's due tomorrow? Because if I do, I want to go ahead and get that knocked out today. Time block that so that you're not having to sit there and you're not having to call a customer and say, hey man, I know I told you I was going to get you that estimate today, can you give me another couple days, and then another couple days, and then another couple days. That's what the other guys do, right? Is it on the lead sheet? We talk about tracking all the time, and we talk about I don't have time for the tracking, right? Well, let's just go ahead while we're reviewing the quotes that we need to do and we're reviewing those. Let's make sure our tracking sheet's updated, right? Once we have that, you know, I kind of skipped one here. So quotes generated. I'll go back from 423. But quotes that are already generated, you've already done all the work. You paid for the lead. You set up the sales appointment. You went to it. You spent the time creating that estimate, right? You have a lot invested into this. What's your plan with those quotes that are generated that, they didn't really tell you no, they didn't really tell you yes? That's some low hanging fruit in our business that we can just reach out and grab. You know, what call does that need person? What does that person need? What email? What text message? Who's doing what when to get that person to either say, hey, no, never a million years, not going to happen, or hey, let's go ahead and get this on the schedule. Sometimes no today doesn't mean forever. It just means it's not the right time, right? So just continuing to pursue those. and again, just updating them in the lead tracking sheet. Now, beyond that, we've got to fill the future of our sales pipeline. Okay, what leads do we have come in, and who needs to be contacted? Who's doing it, and when are they doing it? Am I calling them? Is a member on my team calling them? You're responsible for knowing a little bit about your sales pipeline and that it's being taken care of and being nurtured. You know, if you're executing the Dream 100 to build those business to business relationships, what contacts do I need to reach out to today? What calls do I need to make? What meetings do I need to go to create those relationships? And then finally, just email review. Clear your inbox every morning and handle one email at a time. This is, I think, everybody's like dreaded, bane of their existence is that email inbox that's got thousands of unread emails, right? That's overwhelming. The best way to do that is just, again, take it, a bite at a time where you're doing it every day and you're reviewing the emails you got that day. Open one email at a time and ask yourself, we call it the 4Ds. So delete, delegate, delay, or do, right? Well, 90% of your emails are going to be delete. They're junk, they're spam, they're whatever. There's no action needs to be taken from them. They're just junk. If you open your email, is there a member on my team again? Is this something that I can delegate? Is this highest and best use of my time? Right? If so, again, put it on your to-do list. Forward that email to somebody so they know, hey, this is off of my plate, this is on your plate, and then confirm that they understand that. Delay. Okay, that's an important email. I definitely need to get that done or knocked out or responded to, but it doesn't have to be done right now, but it does have to be done at some point. Okay, put it on your schedule for today or tomorrow or later this week. You're just delaying it, not saying I'm not doing it, right? And some things just, okay, this is super important. I got to get this knocked out. I'm going to take 5 minutes and just boom, have that done, right? So the 4Ds: delete, delegate, delay, do one email at a time. Don't let it overwhelm you. Get that inbox to zero. Now, for step two, right? I told you a couple times to update your to-do list. And so we've got to make sure that it's updated. And guys, there's a lot of ways to keep and manage a to-do list. We'll cover some of the most common ones and the ones that we've seen the most success with. But at the end of the day, this is very much an area that it's really all about what works for you. Any method you choose can work if you work it. Okay, there's not right and wrong answers. The biggest thing is in the implementation of it. And so, you know, no matter where you decide to keep it, one thing that is consistently true is to have one document. Keep it in one place. When you're juggling two or three to-do lists, and the things you need to do are here and here and here, that's when you miss things, which is what leads to more chaos, which is what we're trying to avoid here. You know, a little bit of bonus concept here, but just keep it simple, especially when you're just starting out. The to-do list will work and be as accurate as you make it, but it's easy to get overwhelmed and stop using it altogether. So just keep it simple when you're doing it. So some of the most common tools we see success with, you can use Excel. I think Excel is the program that is truly a business owner's best friend. We can solve a lot of problems with Excel, and your to-do list is one of them. You can just use the format of who, what, who, when, and even put an estimated time that the task is going to take. And guys, we have some best practice templates for to-do lists. So if you don't have one, or you want to see if there's maybe a better way to do it, just ask your coach, and we can get those to you. Day planners are great for people that like to have something that you hand write. There's really an infinite number of options to choose from for day planners. Pick one you like and just work it. Any method works as long as you work it. I had a customer at a previous job that was a really, really successful realtor in the area. He was kind of middle-aged guy, and he always cracks me up because he had this big leather planner, slash calendar that he used. And he would have to run out to his truck, to grab it before committing to anything. Super busy guy, very successful, very organized. But for him, handwriting was more efficient than stumbling around with technology that he didn't really understand. Again, it's all about what works best for you. You know, the calendar method works really well for people that, some people are wired where you can just blindly follow what is in their calendar and really hold themselves accountable to sticking to it, right? That's a good way of doing it. Great thing about it is that it really makes you, be honest with your workload. You know, I think that's one of the biggest things in time management is just being honest with what you can realistically accomplish. If something comes up and you get off track, you can look at your schedule and deadlines and make time for it based on your availability. You can realistically assess what you're saying yes to, and realistically identify that, okay, if I'm saying yes to this, that means I'm saying no to this over here, right? And if you ever get off track, you can just simply, move it to another spot. Now, the next thing that you want to do is just update notes from the previous day. Any notes you have written down, and has really seriously take notes. Stop stressing your brain and using your brain power by trying to remember everything. It's okay to write stuff down. You don't have to be a superhero here. But take notes and write, update them from your to-do list the previous day. Make edits to your to-do list for today. You know, update with new items that you discovered needing to be added during, step one, where you're sitting there asking yourself those questions. Remove items that you got done the previous day, or move up things that you didn't get to, right? Um, I put an asterisk next to this next one, because if you prefer keeping your to-do list digitally throughout the day, that's fine. But unless you spend the majority of your time in an office setting, personally, I'm really, 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 really big proponent of this method. Uh, as somebody who's, personally tried probably every single type of to-do list method and software while working jobs that required me to manage businesses more actively in the field, this was the most effective method that I found. Print it off. You keep a pin or two in your back pocket. You keep a box of pins in the truck, and you know mark things off as they get done. Take notes on your to-do list to keep track of things. You're not bound by a low battery. Oh, I didn't update my to-do list, or I forgot something because my phone was dead, right? Or my tablet died. You're not stuck to cell service, or sometimes just the dang old thing won't work, right? But the biggest thing is just let your to-do list be a little bit of a dynamic living document. You don't just print it off and that's the way it dies. But at the end of the day, make changes as your day progresses, or as time sensitive things get added to your plate throughout the day. You know, if you need to have a conversation with a team member later, or you have a thought of something that needs to be addressed during your next team meeting, jot it down so that it doesn't just drift forever. You know, if you tell somebody you'll call them back by the end of the day, jot it down. You know, so
And I'll add to this just briefly. With that, if you want to go back, Travis, the
yeah,
the main thing that's being communicated here is not this exact way, but finding a way to do a method of power planning. I find myself for a long time looking at those ads or apps that are, helping you do daytime or day planner stuff, whatever. That's great if that works for you, because some guys I've have that they live and die off of their phone. You're on it all the time, so you can use it that way. I think there's something to be said for me, at least, because I'm counter technology sometimes. But that's just because I spend so much time on it that I want to have something physical instead. And so if it's a paper to-do list, something that you print out, or if it's a piece of notebook paper that's in a folder. I did this with a guy just this last week with Charge Ride Electric. He was keeping sticky notes all over in his office. This is how he was keeping track of stuff. But they didn't have dates. They didn't have times. It was hard to tell what was relevant. It was half incomplete thoughts. And so we just said, okay, let's try a different method. Just get one notebook that it's all bound together and then update that as each day goes by. So find a way that works for you. That's the ultimate concept with this, is find a way that works for you to break down the big tasks and goals you have for the day, week, month, year into actual things that are going to happen on a daily basis.
was a good. You said what I said in much fewer words. That was good. uh, but so step three, now we've got to update the calendar. Our to-do list is up to date. Now we got to get to some of that time blocking, make sure our calendar's up to date. Everything we need to get to is on there. Now we're going to use some of the same principles as the to-do list, right? If something has to get done today or by a certain time, schedule it on your calendar. Time blocking. Block off the time for the things that matter. Remember, your calendar doesn't have to only be for appointments. I think sometimes we get stuck in thinking that, man, calendars are meetings and sales appointments. No, you can put action items in there that you need to get done. You can block off time for things that you need or want to get to in a day. Okay. Give yourself a realistic amount of time in your day to knock the most important things out on your to-do list. I know when I first started keeping a calendar and time blocking, this was my deal. I thought I was Superman. I thought what could be realistically done in an hour, I have the power to get done in 15 or 30 minutes. Give yourself a honest amount of time to get something done. And if you go over, just simply schedule more time later in the day or the next day. And so also just again being realistic on it, if you block out every second of your day and leave no time for the things as they come up, again, we kind of talked about that early in the call. Schedule times for running fires. Give them a place to address them. And that way you're taking a little bit of control even over those burning fires, right? You're giving them a place to address them because there's some things that just you can do all the planning in the world, you can do all the preparation, they just come up. Problems just happen. So give yourself time in your day to address this. But even the chaos, you're putting a little bit of a system in place to handle, right? You're going to manage it. And so the biggest thing when you're time blocking, with it is, disrespecting your calendar is disrespecting your own time, right? And if you don't respect your time, do you really honestly expect somebody else to do it? So, use your power hour to update your calendar. Print it off if that's your method. Again, whatever's going to work for you. I'm kind of weird in that a lot of times I really like a physical printed off to-do list, and I like a digital calendar. So, again, whatever you choose is going to work for you if you work it. If something's urgent and important and demands your time, and you have to move something, figure out where in your calendar that item's going to go. Don't just go, my day's ruined. My plan, my perfect, beautiful plan, it's over, right? Make adjustments and allow yourself to move stuff around. Figure out when it's going to go in your calendar, and don't just let it fall off and disappear to come back up in 2, 3, 4 days or a week from now, right? So, as for that, I know I covered a lot here. So Bryce is going to break up this party and send us into breakout rooms where we're just going to cover some quick questions and help you guys start implementing your hour of power.
Sounds good. I actually think that since it took us a little bit getting started with letting people come on in, with the time we've got left, it may be more fruitful if we stay here in the breakout room or in the main session, maybe ask the questions that we would go into during the breakout room, kind of broadly all together. So before we do that, anybody have any I guess questions or thoughts or things that are still lingering that you maybe didn't catch out of all the stuff that Travis covered? Any initial thoughts, questions, comments, concerns?
If there are, interrupt me. I'm going to go right for I think, the most important question and biggest takeaway from this whole presentation. When are you going to do it, and where are you going to do it? I need to hear 3 people. Let's go for it. 3 people. When are you going to do it, and where are you going to do it? Well, in my pajamas. No, I'm talking about in your bedroom, in your office, the bathroom. You've got to pick a time and a place. Let's hear it. Let me look at the list.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, me and Shaquille on the same mind. I see you, boo.
Huh? Okay. I was just going to say I work off of a list each week. And during the week, before I get started during the day, I kind of look through that list of exactly what is it that I'm going to complete for the day, and that's kind of what I'm currently doing.
Okay.
Love
And
that.
yeah.
What I kind of want to mention here is there is never going to be a good time to get stubborn with your schedule and to get stubborn about your owning your schedule in your life. There's never a good time. There's never, oh, well, right now is the busy season or right now is the holidays. There's always going to be a reason why now's not a good time. There's never going to be an ideal time. And so just really encourage you guys to get stubborn with it, to have ownership over your life, over your schedule. You are a business owner. Burning fires are going to happen. It's nature of the beast. It's the course you signed up for. I'm sorry to say it. That's a little bit what you've signed up for. But let's be intentional about planning for those burning fires. Let's be intentional about dedicating that time to knock out those activities that are working on the business before the day starts and you get so wrapped up working in the business. This is the number one thing. Like with Redmond Growth, we can give you all of the tools to succeed. We can teach you all of the systems, all of the methods. We can give you all of this. But if you don't get stubborn about implementing it and taking the time and honoring and respecting your time and your calendar and getting stubborn with it, I promise you're never going to get the results that you're looking for. You're always going to feel like you're working really hard and you're this little hamster on this wheel, working really hard, running really fast, not getting anywhere. And so don't underestimate the power of this. This is the one thing that me as your coach, I can't control. I can't control how you handle your calendar, how you schedule your day, what you prioritize. All I can do is express to you the importance of these activities that you need to get done. And then it's up to you to say, you know what? I'm going to get stubborn about it. I don't care if I piss somebody off in the process because they're used to me answering the phone whenever they call. And now I'm saying, no, I've got a dedicated time. I'm calling this person back. And so just get so damn stubborn with it. Going into 2024, say, this is the year I'm going to own my schedule. I'm going to say no to chaos. I'm going to get stubborn with it. And I'm going to make the change that I've been promising myself to make because I know that that's what's going to get me the results I'm looking for next year.
That's good.
Yeah, and Nicole, you saying that get so dang stubborn with it. One thing that I've found whenever you're implementing things like this, sometimes you have to, in your mind, it's gonna feel like you're almost being extreme with it. But the reality of it and how it comes across to everything is probably you're just being appropriate, like you're addressing it appropriately. But because
Yes.
it's so far from what you're normally doing, you're like, man, I'm being really extreme, like not letting anybody contact me during this hour, you know. But when you take it seriously, that's actually the appropriate degree. It's not extreme, it's normal. It just feels that way because it's not what you're used to doing.
Yeah, I'll throw in there. Doing an hour, I know we're calling it the hour of power, is ideal, but it is far better to do 15 minutes tomorrow than an hour eventually. Start today. Start right now. If you can commit to just starting that, like as soon as possible. And if you can't even commit to 15 minutes, then I'm going to say commit to 2 minutes. Like, well, what's the point? Well, at least you're actually thinking about it, and those better be the most focused 2 minutes of your life. Like, just turn off your phone, put a timer on your computer, 2 minutes. That's far better to do that and do it every single day and eventually work your way up. But you've got to start making sure, hey, when am I going to actually do these 2 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes? Just make the time commitment so little, you have no excuse not to do it. Zero. So I'm actually doing the group call here 2 weeks from now. And I'm going to ask you, everybody, hey, who went ahead after the power planning call? Who started doing this? And if someone tells me, hey, I actually did it for 2 minutes one of those days or every day, you're going to get the biggest shout out from me. I don't know how I'm going to do that yet. maybe I'll send you flowers. No, I don't know. I probably won't. But I'm I'm serious. 2 minutes is so much better than oops, I forgot.
Absolutely. Okay, well, guys, again, thank you so much for making today happen. I know it's a busy week. It's the holidays. Wanting to wish everybody a happy holidays and a Merry Christmas. We will see you all in the new year. No group coaching next Thursday, but we'll pick it back up the following Thursday. So that first week of January.